And then you just got that bit where those two were battling out, and then Lewis got through and he went, and through goes Hamilton. Really famous bit of footage. That happened right here. So Lewis just got the inside track and went up the inside.
Welcome back to the channel. With the upcoming 2023 Silverstone Grand Prix on our doorsteps, I thought I would take the time to walk you round the full lap of this amazing Silverstone facility, hopefully providing some insight from my experience in racing along the way. Make sure to follow the red dot on the track outline map that will be on the onboard footage I'm using for my own racing to reference whereabouts we are throughout the video. So let's pick up the action at the famous Copse Corner.
So this is turn one for us on the British GT weekend. On the Formula One weekend, this is no longer turn one, but this is a really fast, sweeping right-hander. The apex is just up there where those red curbs are, and they're those sausage curbs that are an absolute nightmare. And if you follow me this way and you look down the track, you can see how far you have to go. It is so long. I mean, I'm already looking and regretting and being like, oh my God, this is going to take us ages to walk around. But as you drive down here, so these rumble strips on the outside, if you come and look at them, they are actually, you look at these, you look at white curves, I don't know if you can zoom in, they are actually like quite big. Like that is at least like 6 centimeters, something like that from height. Like it's about there, so it's about that tall off the ground. These things are not flat. They look like they're flat, they're just not flat. So as you're coming off here, the black and whites, you're allowed to run the black and whites, but you're not allowed to run the greens, and the greens are actually really aggressive. And when you touch the greens, it actually, if you're turning in like that, the greens will actually sort of make you come away from the track, so they push you wide. But so many people,
yeah, you can probably see if you go there.
So many people have been going wide at this corner. Like it, Copse Corner, everybody pretty much goes wide in practice because you're trying to get your line in. But in qualifying, if you touch, in our category at least, if you touch this green, or I think you've got one wheel on this green, or you haven't got, I think it's if one wheel is fully on the green element, that's track limits. So your lap will be discounted, kind of thing. But yeah, anyway, so we're going to walk up here and we're going to go past the new property development venture by Escapade. So basically there is a new property development venture at Silverstone by the guys at Escapade, and they're basically allowing you to buy a building or a house next to Silverstone. I don't think you can actually buy them. I think they're like leases, and it's like timeshare sort of thing, but similar but nicer, I think. I don't know. You'd have to speak to Will. I had a chat with Will earlier on today, CEO of Escapade. So I was chatting with him, having a coffee with him. He said things are progressing really nicely. He's going to see if he can get me a tour around as well. So hopefully we'll be able to bring you exclusive footage of Escapade as it's being built from inside the actual construction zone, because everyone else can only see it from the track. Anyway, we'll catch up back with you when we get to the entrance to one of my favourite corners on the whole calendar for Ginetta GTA, Maggots and Beckets. So this is the entrance to Maggots and Beckets. Now this is one of the most famous sort of complexes of corners in the world here at Silverstone. But basically we are just in the sort of, we're not braking here, we don't brake here, we're still completely flat out. But sort of when you get a little bit further down this rumble strip, you're starting to turn left and then right into some amazing sweeping corners. Follow me down. So this here is the left-handed sort of sausage curb. We call them sausage curbs, obviously. These red ones that are like rounded, these are black and white ones that are still like, you know, rumble strips as you've seen earlier on. But basically, we're sort of coming right over from here, all the way over from the twisty whiteboard that you saw over there, and you're coming right on in on the left-hand side, trying to get as much speed through the right-hander as you possibly can, which is this Maggots turn in. So actually this is also the start to the national racetrack, which is a different circuit. So Silverstone itself can be split into 3 different circuits. You've got the GP, which is the big one for the Formula 1, which we're racing on this weekend, which is awesome. And then you've got the national circuit, which is not great. And then you've got the international circuit, which actually is pretty cool. I do like the international circuit. So, but yeah, for here, so we're literally sweeping round on the right-hand side, and you'll just see the curbs in a second. So behind me is the Escapade development that I was talking about a little bit at turn 1. So we've got the clubhouse over there, and we've got the roadside residents, as they're calling them, scattered along the sides of the entrance to Maggots and Beckets. Absolutely amazing building. So you can just see we're under construction at the moment. We've got the swimming pool and clubhouse over this side with an amazing roof terrace. You can just see the glass balustrades being put on. And then we've got the startings of the buildings as they go along, and these can be privately owned or privately rented for race weekends, which is absolutely amazing. And Will Tyndall did say to me, the CEO of Escapade, he said, Ed, as soon as we can, we'll get you down and we'll do a full guided tour around the construction zone so we can actually see what these buildings are like and the spaces around them before they get finished. So follow me now up to the entrance of Beckett's. So now we are at the entrance to, sorry, we're just turning, I'm getting lost now because I'm walking around. So we're just turning on the sweeping left into what's known as the Beckett's right turn to take you all the way down the main Hangar straight, all the way down to Stowe. I think it's Hangar straight, I think I've got that right. Fundamentally, when we're in the race car, we are trying to run all these curbs. Like, our left-hand wheel is almost on the grass. We're using all the right because the car is so loaded to the right-hand side. Your right-hand wheels are almost running along this white line, and we're going over the top of this curb area here to get as much out of the lap time as we possibly can before we head down into the braking zone to turn right onto the Maggots Corner, which will take you, sorry, the Beckett's Corner, sorry, that will take you all the way down the amazing Hangar Straight, which is the fastest part on the racetrack. Okay, so here is the right-handed apex of the Maggots Corner. Now, you can see these red curbs. This one actually isn't too horrendous, but you never end up actually touching that bit. You're getting a bit further around. So the right-hand side here, this second curb is an absolute monster. And I think, see how tall it is? It's literally like 10 centimetres tall. It's massive. So this curb, I think, is where I actually bent a rim earlier on today in testing, which was a bit of a nightmare. So as you're coming round this right-hander, you're trying to get like the best exit possible to get you pushed all the way down the Hangar Straight. And the difficulty is, if you get this wrong, you lose so much time all the way down the main straight. Look how long this straight is. It's absolutely freaking enormous. It goes on for absolutely ever.
As we took the long walk down the Hangar Straight towards Stowe, we got our first glimpses of the world-famous wing pits. This is, of course, where all of the Formula 1 teams will be setting up for the race weekend.
So, this is the braking zone. We're literally at the butt of the board here. We're not braking yet. We've still got a bit of time to go, but that was a long walk. I don't know if you can spin the camera around and have a look, but that was absolutely bloody ages to get down here. But yeah, so in my Ginetta GTA, I'm sort of braking between the edge of the gravel, or the start of the gravel, and that rumble strip. And when you actually stand here, whew, wow. So at this point, I'm normally going about 125, maybe 130 mile an hour, and just anchoring on the brakes like super, super hard. And now that I look at this,
You can see
when I'm doing 130 mile an hour, the edge of that gravel and the start of that rumble strip, they look like they're about that far apart. But now I'm here, they're about, let's pace it out. Follow me as I pace it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 40 yards. What's that in meters?
Oh, I don't know.
That's a long distance. That's a big, look how far away the start of the gravel is already. And that is depending on, like, you choose where to brake in that zone, depending on whether there's wind coming towards you or whether there's wind, you've got a tailwind, whether it's slippy, whether it, there's loads of different stuff. There's actually some grooves as well. They've cut grooves in the track. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see the little grooves? So they've cut those grooves in the track, in the braking zone, to try and get the water to run off onto the gravel bed so it's not staying on the track. That's why this is actually quite a grippy place, even in the wet. Really interesting. I'm going to need that. Okay, so halfway around the track, roughly at this point, it might be worth explaining why a track walk is actually really useful. So, as a racing driver, when you're going past, you are literally, as I've demonstrated earlier in there, like sizes, lengths away, areas, it all looks very, very different when you're going like 100 plus miles an hour. So, when you come down a track walk, you get to see the intricate little nuances of the track that you will need as you're driving, but you can't know unless you actually come and see it firsthand with your own eyes, just walking and standing around and having a quick look at it. Because when you're going that fast, you literally cannot see or know that these things occur. So right, I've picked up on that water drainage, so I know that there's actually some decent grip there in the braking zone. I felt it in the car, but that's confirmed why that was happening. And obviously now I can see, you see the different colours in the tarmac? Yeah. You can see that the inside line is quite shiny, the middle of the track's dark, and then the outside line's quite shiny. So you consider that those are where the rubber is or isn't, and you can start understanding where the grip will actually be. So the other thing to think about is you might say, well, I've been to Silverstone loads of times, why do I need to do a track walk? Tracks change all the time. They resurface them. They put new asphalt down in certain zones and then they keep others old, and you can tell the difference. And these track walks at a race weekend are so valuable for you to actually understand and know with confidence exactly the specifics of the track. Now, we're just getting to the apex. So, if you can see all the way around that side, you can see where we've sweeped all the way in. And then just at this zone here where we've got these red points, these are the actual sort of apex positions where this red is. And at this point you're usually trying to pick up the gas, pick up the throttle a bit more to push you out of the corner with speed. If you're wrong, you're way out here and you've gone in way too hot, which I was doing quite a lot during testing. I was really finding it difficult because the track was very, very mixed in its condition. And normally at this point you're starting to creep out sort of this side because you're sort of coming away from those first apex points and you're coming round to the start of the exit rumble strip. I don't know if you can see in the distance, how cool does that look? I don't know if you can zoom in on the camera. Can you zoom in? Just the toggles, yeah. No, that bit. Oh. Oh, it's a bit out of focus. There's the wing pits. Right. So we're here now at the braking zone and entrance. So we're braking about, where this board is, or just a little bit after this board, but before the rumble strip in my GTA car, down into what's known as the Vale Complex. And this is just literally where the entrance to the big wing pits and the Formula 1 pits actually start back there. So if you're actually racing on the GP with the Formula 1 pits, you're going through that pit entrance there, which I have done on various different track days, which you've seen on the channel before. This is probably one of my scariest braking zones because we're going super fast, we're downhill, and if you touch these rumble strips with your right wheel when you're braking, you will slide all the way into that gravel. And it's unbelievable how much grip you lose by touching that rumble strip, and it's such a fine margin because you want to stay as wide as you possibly can. But at the same time, if you get it wrong and you touch that rumble strip, you're going straight off, and it's pretty horrendous. And then on the inside edge, they stop you taking too much curb by this massive sausage curb. I mean, this is literally one of the biggest sausage curbs. When I drove the LMP3 here, I hit this sausage curb a long time ago, well, it's like 2 years ago now, and I hit that sausage curb and it spun me around in the car. It is absolutely ginormous, that thing. I mean, that is probably about 15 centimetres high, absolutely massive. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to tuck in really tight now. There's lots of different things on the surface of the track here. You see all these marks? This is where it's been patched when accidents have happened and people have rolled the car over the massive sausage curb. So we're heading down here now. I can't remember the name of this sweeping right-hander after here. I know this is the Vale Complex. I can't remember what that bit's called. Anyway, we're going around to the big hotel in a minute, and you'll get to see the Formula 1 podium over there, which is pretty cool. So this is the exit to the Vale Complex, and this is that famous point, I think it was in 2022 actually in the race, where the commentator got through. There was, I think it was Sergio Perez. Who else was it? Sergio Perez.
Lewis Hamilton.
And Lewis Hamilton, but I think it was Sergio Perez with Charles Leclerc.
Or was it Sainz?
Yeah, it was Sainz. It was Sainz. Yeah, that was it. It was Carlos Sainz. And anyway, and they just got that bit where those two were battling out, and then Lewis got through and he went, and through goes Hamilton. Really famous bit of footage. That happened right here. So Lewis just got the inside track and went up the inside while these two were fighting. And it was because I think one of them got on the rumble strips here, and these rumble strips are so tall, they literally, if you're trying to turn the wheel right here, you've got no lateral grip on the outside. It just fires you off sideways here. So you totally lose all momentum as you're moving forward. So this is a really, really important part of the track to make sure you get absolutely bang on exit, because if you don't, you lose so much time all the way up the main pit straight. We're getting closer to that podium. So this bit here, right-hander, I cannot remember what this actual corner is called, but as we come round, yeah, this one here, you can see the amazing sort of pits and the podium area up here. It's absolutely amazing. This is by far the biggest sausage curb on the whole track. It is absolutely massive. If you hit that, it bounces you so far sideways and like almost into the exit gravel over this side onto the main pit straight here. So literally, we are now about to walk down the Formula 1 pit straight. So I don't know if you can see, you've just swiveled it around on the camera, but if you look that way, there's the brand new Hilton Hotel that's only opened literally last year, with this amazing new connecting bridge that goes through. And weirdly, one little thing that you will not know, and I'll tell you this as a little insight, when you're driving down here, flaw in the design, those windows have got a film on them, and that film stops that bridge from overheating in the hot summer or when the sun is shining. However, when you're a racing driver, coming down this straight, you get blinded by the reflection of the sun, either setting or being low in the sky, from those glass panels. Bit of a bad design feature that was. So, last year in 2022, in the summer, me and Rachel behind the camera were privileged to come down to the Porsche Super Cup event and the Formula 1 event that was obviously over the weekend. And I was standing right there, literally right there on the pits at the start of the Super Cup race, and I'll put a bit of footage of that video up now. That was cool, wasn't it? So I was literally standing there hanging out of the gantry, well, not the gantry, but the pit wall, literally videoing as the Super Cup start of the race went past. That was so loud, it probably won't pick it up on the video. It was the loudest thing I've ever known. Oh, I nearly dropped my phone. I had my phone literally like this, hanging out of the gate, getting the footage, and I nearly dropped it. It was so loud. It was absolutely insane. But yeah, that was a proper privilege to be able to do that, and we were so lucky. We were standing literally on the Ferrari, what was it, the Ferrari pit wall? So we were on the Ferrari pit wall, and we had there was pens and things that said Ferrari Sainz. So it had all the team who were working for Carlos Sainz had their own pens. I thought that was really geeky, but it was quite cool. So we're coming up now to a pretty fast corner. It's called Abbey. So actually this is part of the start of the new Formula 1 circuit that only came a few years ago. So fundamentally, we're flying down here full throttle, and then just where that tarmac starts, which I think is the start of the old track that used to turn around to the left, that's fundamentally the part of the braking zone before you're doing the sweeping right-hander to this side. And This is also roughly where we are, about maybe here or a little bit further down, maybe 10 more metres. This is where George Russell and Quadran Cho, how do I pronounce his name?
Zhou Guan Yu.
Zhou Guan Yu. Sorry, Zhou Guan Yu. That's where he had that horrendous accident and ended up in the barriers a bit further down, which we'll see in a minute. So this has actually got decent braking. We've got the grooves in the tarmac again that have been cut in. So actually, this is, even in the wet, this is going to be a nice way to get the water off, which is why, can you actually see how it's dry, but then it's wet on this side? So obviously the dry lines have begun to appear after the last session of the day. Oh, this is where I lost the back end when I was driving the LMP3 car. So I lost the back end of the LMP3 car about 160 miles an hour here. Absolutely terrifying. Nearly did a Zhou Guan Yu straight into the barriers, but I didn't. I managed to catch it, which was really good fun. But I say fun, it wasn't really good fun, but it was amazing the fact that I actually
didn't crash.
I don't know how I didn't crash. You know, so that was pretty amazing. Now we're getting onto the apex here. So on the apex of Abbey, it's a really fun, fast-paced right-hander, but there are some monster curbs again. Look at these red curb killers. They're absolute car killers. And as well, if you look here, if you go too early, you could put your front right into this huge divot and get a massive bounce there. You could easily do, with us using road tyres in the GTA, you could easily do a rim, but here you could just as easily do a rim over that. I mean, again, that's nearly 10 centimetres off the ground. That's a huge curb. This one's less so bad, but the first one's absolutely terrible. But if you get this right and you hook this in, you're just understeering all the way through. It's a lot of fun, but it's pretty hectic. So this is now the left-hander at just after Abbey, and I can't remember the name of it. Really, really fast. So in my Ginetta GTA car, I am hugging this curb as much as I possibly can, but I'm still understeering like crazy because the speed through here is top end. This is really, really fast in fifth gear. You are getting complete understeer all the way around the corner, and when it is wet, sometimes the back end just sort of snips around on you. Marshals are out waving at us. But yeah, so when we're coming fast through here on a hot lap or in the race, the car is understeering wide, probably to about the middle of the track, where ironically you can see here it's the driest, which means it's probably had most people run over it. That's the dry line that's beginning to appear. Before we break into what has been my nemesis all week so far. I just cannot get these two turns right, Village and Loop.
Quite close together.
So the other thing, Rachel just made a good point. Look in the distance. We've almost gone full circle. You can see Escapade from this side. So at Escapade, you will be able to see the first two corners of the track from those amazing high level viewing platforms. I can imagine that is going to be one of the best places on the whole circuit to view, because when you're actually up high level or in the clubhouse, you're going to be able to see all the way down to the start straight where we've just come from. First turn, second turn, third, fourth, all the way down Brooklands Striaght as well. I think that's going to be one hell of a place to view the Formula One and all the other racing. So this is the apex of Village, where, to be honest, you want to be right over this red and white, but you don't want to touch you don't want to touch the red, you want to touch the black and white, because otherwise it'll bounce you off. Here you've got this fantastic bit of camber that brings you in if you get it right. If you're too wide, you miss the camber and you're just going wide, and that's what I was making the mistake of doing pretty much all the way through testing. I lost an entire second on a lap, and a second is huge. It wasn't like a tenth or 2/10, it was an entire second at these two turns, half a second at each turn. It was insane. Finally got it hooked up in the last session of the day. Rachel's decided that we're cutting this bit of the track and we're not going up to go see the loop. It's basically just a very slow hairpin that takes you right round onto the Brooklands Striaght. We're going to Bambi and jump across this gravel patch here, and we're going to try and get back onto the Brooklands Striaght as quickly as we can.
We did not do this.
Yeah, very sorry to the amazing marshals at Silverstone. We've just, like a sand trap at golf, we've just ruined your lovely gravel. I'm very sorry. Hey, check this out. So this is actually a marshal's point. This is interesting. We're inside a marshal's point. Never seen that before. That's really interesting.
Nice bit of fencing to protect them.
So yeah, so you can see them coming up here. So that would be the hard turn into Village. and then you see them go round the exit and come back round. Oh, I can hear an echo. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
It resonates round because it's got curved barriers. And then we're back onto the, I'm calling it the Brooklands Striaght. I think it's the Brooklands Striaght. I don't know the actual terminology, but I'll call it Brooklands because I know that the corner at the end is called Brooklands. This curb here, we're just walking onto it. It's called Aintree. So you've just come out of the loop. You go in hard acceleration. And in my GTA, it's flat through here. I think in most cars, certainly Formula 1 cars, it's easy flat through here. However, in the wet, if you put a left-hand wheel on that red and your right-hand wheel's on the white line, you will literally skid and spin off because the back end will just come round on you without you knowing. Well, I say without you knowing, you will know about it, but it will come round on you quicker than you can catch it, put it that way. But yeah, we've got another massive straight now. Right, so we're just going under the bridge now down the Brooklands Striaght, or the Wellington Striaght, maybe it's called, the Wellington Striaght. You might have seen actually last year at the Formula 1, there was a load of protesters who sat on the track as the Formula 1 cars were going around. I'll see if I've got some footage that I can overlay. There's the camera, look, checking that we're all being sensible. Onto the braking zone for Brooklands, which is one of my favourite corners. So Brooklands, it's a sweeping left-hander which gets gradually more tight as you go around, and you're trying to set yourself up for Luffield, which is a big loop. Fundamentally, I'm braking halfway between the start of the rumble strip and the start of the board. I think I'm normally braking by about this point where I'm standing right now. Yeah.
That there
But yeah.
is an awesome viewing spot.
Yeah, that's probably one of the best places to watch as well. We've still got a lot of footage in previous videos, haven't we, from there, which is quite good.
And that's where all the sponsors last year when they came down sat.
They did, they were all there. And this is where we line up as well. So here, just on the other side of this barrier, this is where we line up before the race. So all of us GTA guys in order position, like one starting at the end all the way back, we line up in rows here, ready to go out onto the track because this is the last corner of the track. So what we do, we go out, filter around the last corner and then go onto the grid. So this is where we come out when we're racing from the national pits. You want to be on the inside here, like try and hook it into the left-hand side. I found my fastest times when you stay tight. I know a lot of people try and sweep around the outside and cut across. I can't make that work to be faster. It ends up being slower. So I always try and hook in nice and early around this apex, because the final part of the apex that you're trying to match is actually these red rumble strips, and you've got a lot of pressure on the car, but you don't want to go over these reds because they're just too big. They will be absolute car killers as well. This is like an oddly double curb. Look at that. So the curb is set in the ground there, much lower. So that's fine because you go over it and hit that. But then the other side, that is literally like a sharp, razor sharp edge. You'll either do a rim or a tyre on that. You don't want to be touching that. But you want to use the black and white because that means you've got round. And then if you turn round, this is the world famous BRDC. So this is a British Racing Drivers Club. I'm fortunate to go in there a couple of times and it is very, very nice. It's like a posh bit of Silverstone, so you know everybody has to wear a jacket, trousers, shoes, that sort of thing. It is actually really, 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 really lovely. Great viewing platform, and of course that actually used to be a great place to view the race because also, well, it still is now, but it was even better back in the day because you could see the track used to come up from a different area, so you'd be able to see quite a lot more of the track, but you could see the final corner and then onto the pit straight, which is pretty cool. Right, so this is the bit, and if you're on a hot lap and you mess up this corner, you kick yourself every time. There's these curbs here, these red curbs, and when I'm in the race car, they look like they're right next to each other, but if you zoom and see, one's like 20 metres down there and one's there. They're miles apart, but if you hit this curb, it bounces the car up and you go so far wide into Luffield that you completely balls up this corner and ruin what could be a fantastic lap. But this is a general slow-paced, sweeping corner that you have to get perfectly right to get the great exit down the straight to get you onto the Copse Corner where we started the track. So to be honest, this inside curb here is usually when I start trying to put the gas down. So that's a flat one, and this is a flat one, but by this red one here, if I'm not flat on the gas by this red one here, I've normally not done the corner very well. But the thing that's difficult about this particular Luffield exit is that if you go even a smidgen wide, you're in the gravel. There is just no runoff here whatsoever, and very often, as you can quite easily see, someone has gone into the gravel. Yeah, so you can see here how much tarmac has been laid down on the track. You can see it on this edge as well. Everybody's absolutely gunning it. They're going flat out here. But look how little runoff there is. That is 2 feet off the edge of the rumble strip. And if you touch the rumble strip, it's not as vicious as others, but it does push you wide as well. And then basically that takes you all the way around I think it's a corner, it's a flat out corner. It's not really a corner. It's just flat out all the way through Woodcote down to the straight. And that takes you back to the main pit straight where we started to walk. Now we're late for dinner, so we're going to go and we're going to head back in through the pit lane. I've never done a track work or Silverstone GP. I thought it'd be really nice to do that, and I really hope you've enjoyed it. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.